Welcome back to part 2 of our weekend debate with our guests. The big story, I think, for me was seeing that Lawrence Skelly comes out with he's standing down. Now, I didn't get to the end of it because I thought, oh, this will be the great talking point because I've heard so much that he wants the president's job. But he's blown me. He's actually said it on there. He's actually come out and said, I get it or I walk, basically, isn't it? Okay, come on, Claire.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence has spoken to me. I'm sure he's been speaking to a number of members, and he's, decided he's got something to offer in that field, which is great. I think, I would always rather a contested election because I think it's important to have choice. So actually, I'm glad that there is someone who's put their name forward. Maybe others, I suppose. I don't know of anyone else. But no, I mean apart from the two. Sorry, I mean there may be others aside from the two that we know. Jewin and
he put his mark down way back last year.
He did, yeah.
Way before Steve Roden said he was going, and I think there was a bit of a hoo-ha there because I don't think he was appreciative of the fact that someone was after his job before he hadn't declared he was going to retire.
Yeah,
you know that.
Yeah. But aside from Jewin and Lawrence, I'm not aware that there's anyone else who's thinking about it. But those are the two names now, aren't they? So, but I prefer a contested election.
I think the Chief Minister's name's been mentioned now and again occasionally for this as well. But again, between Jewin and Lawrence, maybe the Chief Minister. No other names I've been mentioned.
I think the Chief was down definitely when I interviewed Jewin. I think that's why Jewin came out to say that he'd like it because I think that's the time the Chief Minister was walking on water with the public. I mean, everything was going his way. I'm not sure now he would have any chance. I mean, the mood music. Everyone in Tynwald votes for this position, don't they? Everyone, both houses. Yeah. So.
And it's the one thing we've not done yet. I keep saying it's the thing we've still got to learn how it all works, because none of us have partaken in a president election. So.
Right. So, I mean, it's going to be fascinating. You put your hat, your name into the ring, sort of thing. You know as well.
Yeah, I mean,
the old guard. Yes.
Steve will stand down the day before the July sitting, and then the first thing on the order paper in July will be the election of the new president. So before that, obviously, Jewin, Lawrence, maybe Chief Minister, will let it be known, and we'll have done some canvassing around between all the members.
And it's not a job for life. This is a 5-year term.
It's a 5-year term, yeah.
So you have to be I wonder if they've been voted out in the past, but that's why we haven't had the rules that long, I suppose. But it's seen as a job for life, is it not?
I wouldn't say it's seen as a job for life, but what you need to be careful of, and in this case, I'm not sure about the Chief Minister, but certainly Lawrence has said, he's either going to stand down or he's putting his name forward President. Jewin, as Speaker, if he doesn't get President's job, people, when he goes knocking on the doors, because I presume he would want to carry on, people are going to say, what was going on there? We liked you as a constituency, MHK, and all of a sudden you want out, you want to be the president, and now you come back to us knocking on the door saying you want to be our MHK still.
But also being a speaker restricts you a little bit. I mean, he has his moments in Tynwald, of course, but in House of Keys he's got to be sitting there doing...
Yeah, he's apolitical during Keys, but when he gets into Tynwald, he can be political, of course, but Jewin, if he became president, I can't really see him wanting to stay apolitical. He's a political animal.
He just likes dressing up, we'll say that. In his military outfits, no. I suppose Lawrence Skelly, is this like a bit of a parachute though for him? I mean, he's been called Teflon Man so many times. He's got through so many hoo-has and things, the Vision 8s and there's been many of them. Vision 9.
You're making it sound like a sequel.
There was a new version.
That's close. But you know what I mean? I mean, Teflon Man or whatever. What do you think? I mean, is this the right way for him to go?
I mean, I think for me, the president is someone who has to be able to, maintain the order, do all of the, understand all the standing orders and be able to apply them and be absolutely fair and just. So those are the qualities that I'll be looking for when I make a decision. There may be other people, as say, come forward. So at the minute, I just don't know, but...
It's a matter for Tynwald. I don't think any of the three of them that have been mentioned so far would probably get elected president if it was a public election.
Well, who would Liberal fan like? Who would you like? You've got to pick someone in that room right now, right? You can't come in...
Well, no, you don't. You could have an ex-member of Tynwald.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have an ex-member of Tynwald.
An ex-member only, though?
Yes.
I mean, you can't have a complete Joe Bloggs.
No.
It has to be someone that's got an MHK under the retired
It has to be an ex-member of Tynwald, yeah.
MLC as well?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Okay. So let's think about that one.
It's always going to come from Tynwald, I think, Paul, but it doesn't have to be, I don't think.
Got a name? Got any suggestions from past
What, from outside?
Yeah, like Alan Bell coming back, or...
Alan would run a mile if you said it to him. No,
he's coming on the show soon now.
Is he?
He's just getting the time.
You ask him. Alan would run a mile. No, that's not his forte. I mean, Tony Brown loved that. He was Speaker Brown, obviously, and he would have done a good job. But
what's the job though, really? I mean, besides walking down pomp and circumstance and all that, and going on these fantastic trips around the world, I'll get killed for that one. But you know what I mean? What is it absolutely the right thing to do to have a president as we have one, or should it be bigger than we have even?
Absolutely.
Do we need a president and speaker?
I was going to raise that. I was going to let Claire answer, and then I was going to come in with that.
Okay,
and I think that there's an interesting conversation to be had, certainly around that. I do think that there's a point, though, around the international travel. It doesn't necessarily need to be the president, but it often becomes the president because there's someone who doesn't have all of the departmental responsibilities and the other stuff going on, so they can sometimes seem or appear freer. And certainly, with Steve, it's someone who's not currently working, in a full-time role in Parliament in terms of it being the department stuff. So it is the scrutiny, the oversight, some committees he's chairing. Doesn't have a young family. I think there are some things that make travel easier, and I'm saying that as a mum to young children. For me, the conferences, there are some that I can fit in, but it's a challenge. It really is. So that's the bit I find hardest, actually. There's a huge amount of value from some of the things that I've had the opportunity to go on, but I have to get someone to come and help my husband out with having the kids, because it's just hard work with 2 kids.
I think there is a meeting once every 2 years early in the new year for presiding officers, and so we end up sending the speaker and the president. And as Paul raised, do we really need both? Well, if you have a good look at Tynwald and the makeup of Tynwald, if you want to change that makeup, then actually, no, you probably don't. You could end up with one presiding officer.
Put Legco on a different day. Put Legco on a different day.
Or do away with some numbers. And I've said that. I've said that before, and even in Tynwald. And you
twisted.
Hey, no, not at all. Not at all. And it comes down to the end of the day. If you want to save money and lead by example, then that's the way to go. You could reduce the number of Legco. You could reduce the number of Keys members. There's a saving there of well over £1 million every 5 years if you get rid of 4 members. And you could also rearrange the whole of Tynwald, but people don't want to because it's historical, but you could end up with one presiding officer. It's absolutely doable. And that would also, if you looked at it, and I actually looked at this along, Kate Lord Brennan and I did some chatting to the clerks and some of the senior members of Tynwald with a way of finding out, how to get members of Legislative Council publicly elected. And therefore, you can use every member of Tynwald as ministers on all sorts of committees or whatever. And there's no excuse that they haven't got a public mandate. And it all comes down to just changing the system and changing the numbers, Paul.
Right. Who are you going to vote for?
Out of Lawrence and Dewan. I genuinely, Lawrence only mentioned it to me tail end last week. Okay. And it would depend if there was other people. You can't tell me they haven't all come. Hi Claire, how you doing? No, I've had a chat. I have had a chat, and I haven't committed to. I genuinely haven't committed to either of them.
Not redacted. We're going to hear this.
No, but there are other people that I have approached actually as well. So I would say that. But
hang on, you've approached other people to stand.
Yeah.
Would you like to?
No, because I know certainly with one person they've declined, and that's fine. I accept the reasons, but I think that it's about looking and making sure it is a broad pool.
So if you approach other people, you think they're going to be better than the people that are already up there?
I think they would have something to offer, and I certainly think that at the time that I approached, it was when there was only Dewan, and I think that it's important that it is as I said before, contested election. I think one of my biggest concerns is when you have uncontested elections, because it is just anyone gets.
Well, no one's actually officially put their name in technically anyway yet. So
there's no formal nomination.
Is it just on the day?
No, at the minute there's not. I assume there is a formal. I'm saying that. I assume there is.
Put their hands up on the day almost or something. Or what?
Definitely a nomination.
I think you have to have a nomination and
seconders and things like that.
It's 5 years, 6 years.
But it's not.
I'm getting old.
Not yet.
And on this basis, I'm really pushing you on this one. If you got back in, supposing, where would you see yourself? Minister or something, obviously.
I genuinely don't know, because I have been asked this question, a year ago even, and I think it all depends on who's the person in charge, and I think you have to understand who you'd be working with. So I couldn't make a call now and say that regardless of who was a chief minister, I'd take a minister's role, because I just don't think you can be like that. You've got to work with people that you can work constructively with. And for me, that's why I can't say 100% either way. I'm certainly not ruling that out, you know.
Would you fight Alf Cannon for chief minister?
I can't see myself fighting out for chief minister. Might get the swords out and have a duel. Okay. I don't know, but no.
Will he be a candidate?
Yeah. Is it a foregone conclusion that Alf Cannon's going to get it?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think so.
Alex Allinson's name's in the mix.
Yeah.
Alex. No, you mentioned chief minister's job, and those two names are the first two that come out of the hat. So you just don't know who else gets in. You know, it's a case.
He's got to get re-elected.
You've got to get re-elected or elected, and then it's just a case of taking it from there. Yeah.
Go on. Who?
Yeah, Alf and Alex are the two names that certainly have come. You know, I would say are top of the race.
Of course.
And it's just, but as you say, there is those, you've got to get re-elected. And also I think, you know, someone in the chief minister role would have to be content that they had enough people that they were comfortable working with to form a council of ministers that they were comfortable with. So I think there's so many different ifs and buts and maybes that you can't definitively say until you know what the land's going to look like.
I think personalities are important, but the programme for government will make a difference as well. You know, what are people going to be actually expecting the new government to do?
And we saw this issue.
And then who's going to lead it?
Because the people who vote don't have any say in this whatsoever. Can that ever change? Yeah.
Well, it could change.
Well, will it ever change?
I don't know whether it will ever change. It's the same with party politics. Will it ever change? Party politics has got more chance of changing, I think, than the public being able to vote for the chief minister at the moment. I think party politics will happen naturally, but it very nearly happened a few years back, as you'll remember, a few years back with APG. But that would have naturally died at the end of that term because they were the alternative policy group, and they were against that government at the time. But I mean, they might have gone into government the next time round. So I think party politics at some stage will, but I think, as Claire's just said, depends who the chief minister is, whether she would take a job as a minister. So, you know.
Well, I mean, really, if you didn't like the person in that position, you would actually decline to get inside the tent. Yeah. Even though you can make a difference inside the tent more than the outside. Yeah, because
I just think you have to be able to work together as a united team. And I just think if you didn't feel that you were able to do that with the personalities there, I think for everyone's best interest, it would be better to say, actually, it's not the right time for me.
So the two that possibly are up already, you could or you couldn't? Without saying which one, but, you know.
I don't know. I work happily with both of them now. I don't have any...
I mean, what's lacking in Coman, of course, is any female representation, and although we shouldn't be probably go down that route, do you think it's important?
I think it's got to be the right people for the right reasons, and you know, I think that it will be great to see Coman. We've already had women in Coman, but I would like to see a more diverse Coman, but I want to see it for the right reasons, not just because people think we've got 50% of them who are women. So that's not the right way to achieve the right outcome.
Yeah, Claire said the right expressions, the right people for the right job, and if you've got the talent there, whether it's male or female, that's your choice, isn't it?
I know, but yours.
Yeah, I think there's a perception that the current chief minister has an antipathy towards women, but whether that's true or not, I wouldn't like to say. I'm not in Tynwald.
Would you like to expand on exactly what you mean by that? Because that was an interesting way of putting it.
Well, there's been various times where he's been seen to be putting ladies down, both as Kate Beecroft as minister and also members of Legco, who he allegedly gave a ticking off to tell them to toe the line.
Do you believe, Claire?
So, obviously I'm aware of the situations that are described, and I wasn't there to be, it wasn't me, I wasn't the person who was involved, but from what I've heard, there are things that I would be uncomfortable about how they were approached. Personally, don't have any... I haven't experienced that from Howard at all. That's not been my experience. I find him to be someone who, his heart's in the right place. We certainly don't always see eye to eye. But, on a personal level, I get on fine with Howard. Okay.
Perception is he's harder on the ladies. I'm trying to be careful how I put this.
I was going to say, maybe he's just harder on people that don't agree with him. But
maybe it's just the ladies.
I don't know.
You've got a boys' club there, and Kate was there, obviously, but not now.
Yeah.
And, is there something in this more than, and we're skating around it, and we don't get those.
Genuinely, it's not something I have specifically seen. I think there are comments that have been made that I would be, such as the "don't rock the boat." I think it's just crazy. I mean, why would you say that to people? The whole point of us is being able to go in there and scrutinise whether you be in House of Keys or Legislative Council. And the reality is trying to stop that is just unhelpful. And actually, it backfires. I mean, what did it achieve? It didn't stop the boat being rocked, did it? It just made people rock it harder.
But the first couple of years, and definitely the first year and a bit, of this house, isn't it? It was, I keep calling this loving because I can't think of a better word to do it, but everyone was as happy as Larry with everyone and being so nice. Does that happen all the time, by the way? Do you remember that?
The relationships absolutely fall apart as the 5 years goes on. There's no doubt about that. And everybody becomes more and more
This is when
protective.
the wheels come off, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And people get more and more protective and, nothing gets done, allegedly, or less gets done. For sure, relationships fray. There's no doubt about that. And I remember saying to Rob Callister when he got in, I said, this 5 years will shoot by. And he goes, it's a long time. And, here we are, near 4 or 5 months away from it. And I was talking to him a while ago, he goes, I can't believe it, how quickly it's gone. But I just think that Howard missed an opportunity. He's had a couple of opportunities with moving ministers around, and ministers needed moving around, to have brought some of the right people in. And I actually do believe at the time there was at least one, if not two, women that could have been brought into the cabinet, and he didn't do that. Missed opportunity.
One of them here?
Yes, if you want to answer, yes, absolutely.
Your name's down for Chief Minister, maybe not this one, the next one, maybe. So we'll expect big things of you now. No pressure.
No pressure.
I think Claire's de facto announced her candidacy in the last 10 minutes or so, hasn't she?
I want to boot off the show. Straight away. Okay. You want to say anything?
If I do announce my candidacy, I'll be coming to canvass you first, Paul.
You come to the right place. Yeah, I like to break the exclusives on that. As the wheels fall off this administration, if that's how we're doing it, do you think it's...
Any wheels on?
Go on.
Well, it's a number of things are falling off. The animal welfare bill, the climate change bill, people concerned that not enough is being done. And as you said, as you get towards the end of administration, people do less, and they're being seen to be doing less. It's difficult in the last 6 months before a general election.
Just looks like the light at the end of the tunnel at the moment is a train coming. It really does. Talking to people outside, people are genuinely concerned at the moment about the whole of the island. The feeling
we've
in the
got
island.
this whole thing with national unity in a sense because we're all battling the same thing. Which
The island is
Boris done
really
very
good.
well out,
If it's something big, the island pulls together and deals with it. No, absolutely. It's the small things that, it's the roads, it's the road tax, it's the waiting list that people get really upset about. And you don't get any excuses for those at all. It's just, we're dealing with it. We haven't got time, we haven't got money or whatever it is, and it's too easy to just, and they can blame, they've got the best answers now, COVID and Brexit. The animal welfare bill, as Minister Boots said the other day, we've worked on this for 4 years and it's going to take us another 2 to sort it out. There was no excuse. It should have just wasn't fit for purpose in my view.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting, actually, going a couple of points back, is that while at the end of the 5-year term, relationships can break down. I think what's happened, interestingly, is that there's been a backbench group that's very much come together.
I believe so. Yeah, absolutely.
Including MLCs,
Yeah, there's been actually a real positivity around trying to get some stuff
girl power almost
finished, I suppose. There's been an infuriation, I think, on some topics. And I mean, the animal welfare bill was a prime example, hugely frustrating, that having waited for something that, I don't think you'll find anyone who says, let's not bother with animal welfare. It's something that's been very much at the forefront. 2015 committee report.
Fact that it's been dropped and they don't understand how.
And I was infuriated again with Jeffrey Boot when he decided to say that it was because we didn't want UK legislation. And that's just absolutely to miss the point of the frustration that was there, in that there was a 2015 Select Committee report, there was a huge amount of output that didn't appear to have been what had formed the final bill. There were opportunities, if they'd have simply wanted to just do a short-term bringing in of some UK legislation. As Laurie Hooper rightly pointed out, that could have been done under some of the Brexit powers while they got the right bill in place. But to try and blame Brexit, I just think was... sorry, I'm saying Brexit, I'm thinking of Brexit. To try and blame COVID, right at the end of what was a long process and lots of stuff having been recommended in 2015. Some of that stuff, well, most of it's never been done.
Beecroft
Kate.
worked on that. Yeah.
Kate sat on there, Brenda Cannell, and David Cretney, I think, were the three who put together actually a really comprehensive report and talked about having a forum that could both contribute to the bill, but then longer term could contribute to actually looking at how the enforcement works in terms of animal welfare. So the fact that it was brought forward in the form it was, and then the comments from Jeff.
How did it get that far before being second reading, right? Second reading.
No, because Jeffrey suspended standing orders to take second reading, and which might have been it may have been a mistake, but I'm not sure it would have been any better a week later. But he might have had some consultation responses for us, because to say I haven't got the consultation responses, I'm not sure when we'll have them. We'll hopefully get them before clauses stage. So you're now asking us to vote for a bill which we don't know whether we should amend in terms of feedback from the public, and there's some real valuable expertise from the charities and so on, because we've not seen that. So the officer who was present did assure us we would have it before clauses stage, but what we weren't clear on, would we have it in time to actually constructively put the amendments together that were needed. And then the commentary then was from the Minister, which again just was frustrating. Was saying that, well, the next administration can then decide whether they want to do another bill. So hang on a minute. So you've brought something to us that you've acknowledged isn't really as good as it could be, but it's a start, which fine.
Was it cut and paste UK legislation?
It was an enabling bill, so it would allow UK legislation to be brought into the Isle of Man, but there would have to be a consultation on which UK legislation was brought in and on any amendments to the UK legislation, which would take a further period of time, which I just couldn't see happening in this parliamentary term anyway. So I'd far rather wait and get it right. Yeah. But I'm frustrated it got to this point. And was presented in the form it was.
Is it the Minister? Is it the officers? Coman didn't even go with it. I mean, who's to blame?
Minister, absolutely. Minister.
Direction from the Minister. The officers in the department will work from direction from the Minister. If they're told to work on a particular issue, they'll do it.
You absolutely need to read the feeling of the room, if you like. And Jeffrey should have, when they started talking about the mountain hares and things like that, taking those out and things like that, you could already feel it, talking to people and all sorts, this isn't good, and then all of a sudden you bring something forward. He should have been talking to members first. What are your feelings on this? Am I going to be all right on this? And if not, pull it. It was absolutely a big mistake, and then to put the letter out afterwards trying to explain it. I mean, I can't ever remember that happening before from some, it doesn't happen very often that somebody loses a bill like that in that way. Embarrassing for the department, totally.
The wheels are coming off. We'll leave it there for this section. We've got more. Section 3 coming next.